Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I have the question here: should you start a newsletter as a creator? Should you do it? A lot of people are right now. A lot of them are popping up. I think what seemed to be a lot of people had done it before, and they've had them off and on for quite a while, or a close cousin to that, kind of Patreons where information is posted and everything else. But more for the writers, I think newsletters has been an option. And James Tynion has I would say, reasonably successful newsletter, meaning a lot of people have kind of signed in for that. I think when he jumped in to take over Batman, I think he benefited from, he did some, if you look at the exact moment where Tynion was taking over for Tom King, Tynion was teasing kind of a lot of changes and where he would take the character and everything else. It was unclear if Tynion was going to stick with the title. And originally, I guess the plans were he was not, and then he was asked to kind of extend and keep going. And I think throughout that whole process, it baited a lot of people into signing up. I think that was a moment in time where he saw a lot of subscriber growth and things went very well for him. And I think some of it had to do with the kind of strange moment that had occurred when Tom King was coming off the book and his run being cut short. A lot of people looking for gossip, and a lot of things coalesced. But regardless, he did this. It got a lot of hype. A bunch of the news sites, that was easy news for them. They could just subscribe to the newsletter and then reprint things that Tynion had said, and they've got their news story for the day. So it worked out great. But in terms of, do you need one as a creator? That shouldn't be your first priority. No. I do think if you're a creator, particularly doing something indie or crowdfunding, you need an email list, but be careful of creating another deliverable that is outside of what you're doing for a living. It's outside of comics, because a newsletter is only going to be successful if you can keep up on it, if you can, keep creating content, if you can bring interesting things to people. And while your first newsletter, your second, your third, maybe your 10th, those could be pretty easy because you got some ideas stacked up in your head. At some point, you're going to run out of ideas. It's going to become a chore, or your newsletter is going to fall into irregularity. And that's, I think, the trap. If you're going to do a newsletter, I think you need to sit down, put a calendar in front of you, and say, all right, I'm going to set the expectation that I'm going to put out, a newsletter once every 2 weeks or week or month or whatever it happens to be, whatever you think your frequency can be. And you're going to need to stick with that. You're going to need to keep going. It would be a good idea for you to get several newsletters or things get your format in mind. Don't get excited making one, launch it, and then try and figure out what you're doing for number 2. That would be a big mistake. Otherwise, you are better just creating a Patreon for yourself. I think, unless I'm wildly mistaken, I think you can do some of these services. I mean, look, a good example is Zub. Okay, Jim Zub, we've interviewed him twice now on this channel. It's great. He's got a website. He puts stuff on his website. There's no expectation that he's going to put something else up every week. It's just his website. Content is there. You go there, you check it out. He's got a lot of great material on breaking into comics and his thoughts on it and everything else. But he controls how it comes out. He controls what it is. He sets no expectation that it's regular. With a newsletter, I think people are, first of all, a bunch of smaller creators are thinking, this is how I'm going to be as big as Tynion. That's a terrible reason to do it. And 2, I think they're not real clear of what a newsletter is, or they're kind of enamored by the idea of, I can write something and then I will send it to people and they will enjoy it. And these are all bad reasons. Newsletter is marketing. That's what effectively you're doing. You're marketing yourself and your project. So make sure that you have an effective product, i.e. you and what you're creating, in order to market. If you do not, if you're not prepared for it, then you're actually creating bad marketing for yourself. You're creating something that won't age well, will quickly be forgotten, and it's not a great idea. The other thing I'll tell you, and I've given this same advice for YouTube channels and other things, is make sure you've got to go the distance. So you have to be aware that there is a natural kind of occurrence that happens with everyone. I haven't seen Tynion's numbers, but I expect with him as well, where you will start your newsletter, your YouTube channel, your whatever it is. You'll get some initial growth. It'll be really exciting for the first couple of days because all your friends, the people you already know, are going to sign up. It's going to give you an initial shot in the arm. And then it's going to go real quiet for a while. Unless you happen to go viral or you're doing so. There's always exceptions, but never assume you're one of those exceptions. Get prepared for a long quiet period where you've already got your audience. Your audience is your audience, and you're going to grow very, very slowly. During that time, the absolute smartest thing you can do is keep going as if you've got 1 million subscribers. Put something out every week, every day, whatever it happens to be. Keep putting one foot in front of the other, because what you're doing is you're building your platform. You're building something that when people do come to your site later, people will stumble across it. People you don't know. They will go, holy crap, look at all this stuff. There's lots of material here, tons for me to get into. This person must be legitimate. This person must have a plan. This person must know what they're doing, because look at all this content. That is how people think. In addition, you are making yourself better, because your 50th version of your newsletter, or whatever it happens to be, is going to be much better than your first. You're basically giving yourself practice. And you're giving yourself practice when it's a smaller set of eyes on what you're doing, as opposed to a huge audience. You will have that million well, maybe you'll have. I never will, but others may have that 1 million subscribers at some point. And when you do, you want what you're creating to be well tuned. You want it to be easy. You want to be focusing on the creative and not the production. And so the more you do it, the more it becomes muscle memory. The easier it is, the faster it is, the more you're comfortable with it. And it's better to go through those training pains, those moments when you're small. If I were you, I wouldn't rush to a newsletter. I don't think it's something that I think is popularized right now because of Tinian in particular, and a couple others who have made some big waves with it. But there are other things, and you got to pick the one that's right for you. Maybe a newsletter and writing that way is something that's right for you. Maybe doing a channel where you do 10-minute little recordings on your phone is the thing for you. Maybe it's, who knows what it is. Maybe it is Patreon. Maybe it's something else. Figure out what is natural to you and go for it. And if a newsletter, the idea of writing kind of an email or whatever it happens to be once a week is not, that does not sound appealing to you, that sounds like work to you, don't. Regardless of how successful Tinian is with it, don't try it. You're not going to do yourself any favors by trying to force yourself into something that's not natural to yourself. It will show up in the work, and it will be a chore. And again, the last thing you want is a chore. The last thing you want is more homework. What you want is something fun. You want something that's easy to produce. You want something that you'll be able to get out to your audience and build an audience. That's the name of the game. So anyway, that's should you do it? It's up to you, obviously, but I think there are probably better ways to do it. I think in 2021, I think little videos or podcasts or other things are probably a better match, but maybe that's just me. But go in with it with low expectations, go in with it with a plan, and things will probably work out okay for you. Anyway, that's what I think. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and thanks for listening.